I'm Anthony Nguyen. Join us as we change the narrative around aged care, one story at a time. Welcome back to the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. Here we have Frank Price, the CEO of Royal Freemasons Benevolent Institution. Thank you so much, Frank, for agreeing to be on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Before we get into the episode, I want to say a quick thanks to two of our sponsors for the episode. The first sponsor is Hopstep. It's an app that matches quality talent with aged care opportunities across Australia. Simply download the app and find the match that's right for you. And the other sponsor is Global Talent Agency. They're a boutique international talent solution specialist connecting great Australian businesses to highly skilled talent from across the globe. So thank you very much, guys, for making this episode possible. Now let's get into RFBI. Let's start with having a broad overview as to who RFBI is, services you provide, locations.
Sure. Just history-wise, we're 145 years old. We were formed in 1880, back when there weren't too many cars out in the street and not too many cities around. And we've been around since, well, basically we've experienced the First World War, the Second World War, the Spanish flu, you name it. We've been there. Our history dates that far back. And we were formed by Masons at the time, who were there to assist other Masons who had fallen upon hard times or widows of Masons. And as time evolved and as Social Security kicked in, then the purpose for the Royal Freemasons, or back then was Freemasons Benevolent Institution, our reason for existing evolved and continued to evolve until the 1970s, when we were gifted some land up in Newcastle, a place called Edgeworth, by a non-Mason. But he was heavily influenced by the local Masons then, and that's where we began our first foray into aged care. And that was predominantly retirement living, and now we've got retirement living and residential care up at Edgeworth. So since then, we've grown to have 22 locations, aged care facilities throughout New South Wales and the ACT. We've got 20 retirement villages, and we've got 6 what we call hubs for home care. So they're the 3 areas of our primary purpose. And then we still retain the benevolent side, where we provide assistance to families, individuals who have fallen upon hard times, may need medical assistance, or we also help various institutions with their research, and more recently we assisted Griffith University with research into dementia care.
Wow.
And other bodies within New South Wales as well.
So home care, retirement, residential, research. I missed one.
Families and individuals in need of financial assistance who've fallen upon hard times. Primarily families. We've got, and we split that up between people that come to us via various lodges. And I'll make it, just to make it clear, RFBI is not RFBI. We've abridged the name because it's way too long. RFBI is not affiliated with Freemasonry. Our heritage is Masonic, but to work at RFBI or to be a resident of any of our locations, there is no limitation. It's the values of Freemasonry that we live by. And I've totally lost the question.
No, that was good. That was a good overview of RFBI. I was more digging into that benevolent side.
Oh, yes. So we got 2 streams with families in need. The first stream is through lodges. So we do have an informal arrangement with Masonic lodges. So in our locations, and we're 22 locations, primarily regional and rural New South Wales. And in those locations, there's always a Masonic call or a Masonic lodge. And if they know of anyone that's doing it tough, they bring it to our attention, we look into it, we provide assistance. The other side is we've got 2,300 employees. So when you've got that many people, and I know we're not the largest, we're certainly not the smallest aged care provider, we're a nice Goldilocks zone, I think. 2,300 employees, you get to see all the beautiful things and all the sad things that happen in society. And unfortunately, when sad things happen, and especially with an aged care workforce, they need support. And we provide a lot of support to our workforce. which we don't generally talk about, but every now and again we should,
Yeah.
because it's a wonderful thing that we do. And
Please do talk. Yes,
that.
please do talk. That was my next question. What are the benefits of being an employee of RFBI?
Well, most recently, back in November, we built homes for older women at risk of homelessness. It was our first foray into affordable housing up in the Bellingen area. We've got an aged care facility and a retirement village at Bellingen, but we had surplus land, and we decided to build. We asked the community, what do you need up here? And they said, we've got a lot of older women in their 60s plus who are finding it hard to find safe housing, basically. So we built it. It was a roaring success. It really was. It was a roaring success to see the impact that it had and the emotional attachment that these women had with having a safe home. But then when you dig a little deeper and you try to work out, how did these women get to be in a situation where they're at risk of homelessness? And what we discovered was most of them held jobs. Most of them had normal jobs like just about anyone else, and through no fault of their own, maybe it was a divorce, maybe it was they became widows, or something else happened, some life-changing thing happened to them, and they found themselves financially vulnerable. And I look at my workforce, and my fear with my workforce is that at any point in time, they could find themselves in that position. Even though our staff have been paid considerably more in the last couple of years with the Fair Work Commission and the extra funding we've received, which is well overdue, and grateful that it's happened, the fact is anyone, especially my older staff who are nearing retirement, when the income stops coming in, and if they're renting, they could just as easily be one of these women or men who will find themselves homeless.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we had, up in Coffs Harbour, we had a building on site in the middle between our retirement and our residential care. We had it stripped out and we had it built into 15 apartments. And that is exclusively for our staff in that area. We've got 3 locations up there exclusively for our staff in that area at about 50% of market rent. So it's just covering the cost of keeping the building going.
Yeah.
Straight away it was taken up, that's the sad part. Straight away it was taken up. And what the offer has been to those staff and to our other 2,300 staff is, whilst you're an employee of RFBI, you will have that safe home. Should you retire, once you're an employee of RFBI, you will retain that safe home. Yes.
Take it?
Yes. Because
what a long-term benefit.
Well, it has to be, because we've received a long-term benefit.
Yes.
Our residents have received a long-term benefit, and when our staff need it the most, do we just let them go? We can't do that. I can't do that.
Wow.
So I went to the board and I said, we've done it up at Coffs Harbour, now let's do it everywhere else. So our plan is to build staff housing at 21 other locations.
You must be getting the highest performing employees, because if they know that's in their future and they get to retire and have that.
People are people. I think our employees are superb. I think anyone that works in aged care is a superb human being.
But it's great incentive to keep doing the best they can.
Exactly right. I'd like to think so, but I'm not going to dangle a carrot in front of them to perform better.
Yeah, that's not
that's
not the purpose of it.
That's not the purpose.
No.
So our next site will be up at our original site at Edgeworth. We've got a DA in there to basically renew the village. It's the oldest village. So as we renew, we've got a building of 12 units, which will be built exclusively for our staff.
That's amazing.
We've got a DA down at Canberra, and once again, there'll be a building, there'll be housing for just staff. So as we develop, that's...
My mind is blown. This is an amazing idea. It's an amazing initiative.
I don't see why, putting financials aside, and smaller providers don't have the cash flow. I know that because I know how tough it is. Aged care returns about 3 or 4% return. That's not enough to reinvest into the business. But we've been around 145 years. We've been a very conservative company. I remember during the GFC, I remember having an accounting firm come in and do a health check on us. And they said, you've got a very lazy balance sheet. You should be spending more money. No, we're very old-fashioned in that regards.
Yeah.
We don't borrow. We just do what we do. And there's a lot of providers out there that could do the same. So if they can, I think they should. That's my call.
Yeah. Have you heard of anyone else doing this? I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Well, I hope everyone hears about this now.
Yeah.
I'm still mulling on this. I've lost my train of thought for the next one. That's just okay.
And that's one way. Sorry, that's one way that we've helped our staff.
Yes.
Obviously, there's other things that we do. So we've assisted quite a number of staff who have fallen upon hard times. And I won't go into details because that wouldn't be right. But we've provided families with interim housing at no cost, whilst medical issues were being dealt with. We've provided with financial assistance when they've had children who needed medical care which they just could not afford to pay for. And we do that, and the managers know that we do that. We don't advertise it, but as a manager reaches out and says, this is a situation. In fact, I was just reading an email before you walked in. We've got 2 families who are in need of help. So once I go back to the email, I would imagine that we'll be assisting those 2 families. Think about during COVID. I'm not sure what you were doing, but the majority of the world, the majority of Australia was at home. We were told to stay home because we don't want to spread the virus, etc., etc. We know the history. Who wasn't at home? The aged care workers, hospital, essential workers. I then went, during a break when you were allowed to travel, I went to a number of my sites. They wouldn't let me in, by the way. They wouldn't let me on site because they took their job that seriously. So we would meet somewhere and they would say to me, Frank, I haven't been to the hairdresser in months. I haven't been to the grocery store in months, because the fear was that they would do that and unbeknownst to themselves, they would then infect the village. They did this. And now that we are now back in a level of normality, why do we forget the sacrifices that aged care workers performed and undertook during the most vulnerable time of our lifetime? And they did it. So when I say I absolutely love my workforce, I'm not kidding. I absolutely love my workforce. Don't get me wrong. You've got a ratbag element in society everywhere. You do.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling my workers ratbags. But what I'm saying is you've got your good and your bad, etc. But as a cohort of people, they're just brilliant. And having travelled to other providers, I just think it's a universal level of beautiful that aged care workers have.
I think the majority of us are one health issue away from at least huge financial struggle, and homelessness wouldn't be far off from that.
That's right.
Depending on the issue. I don't know how many employees can say it's okay, my employer's got my back on this. So what amazing peace of mind that you're providing for them, for them to know that if and they wouldn't take advantage because they wouldn't want to ruin it for the rest, but for them to know if worse comes to worse, if it's they're facing the street, just to know that they can message their manager. And that's...
Our former chairman, when he used to do his rounds, he would say, we're all family. This is the RFBI family. You don't let your family down on hard times, during hard times. So we like to think that we actually live the family mindset. We're getting big. We're a lot smaller then, and we're getting bigger, but I believe we do live that family mindset.
How long have you been the CEO of RFBI?
8 year,s
8 years.
But I've been with RFBI 18 years.
Okay. And when did this initiative come into play?
A year and a half back.
Yeah. How did you get into aged care?
My background is I'm an accountant, and right throughout my life they'd say, you're the most unaccounting accountant we've ever met. And I've got to say, it wasn't my calling. And I went from industry to industry to industry. I went from security, TNT security, to mining, to packaging. but I just hadn't found my calling. And then in between jobs, I found a job in disability services. And I thought, well, that'll do me for a little while until I find my next career. And I was there for 10 years. And I found that service to others was just so fulfilling. And working in what used to be called a sheltered workshop, this certainly wasn't a sheltered workshop, working for this wonderful organisation, helping people primarily with intellectual disabilities gain a level of normality in life, gain living skills, gain working skills. Oh, it was just wonderful. But after 10 years, I just felt that I'd done all I could there, and it was time to look for something else. And there was no way I was going back into the for-profit field because I just got too much. It was rude getting paid when you're having so much fun. So I thought, where can I add value? And the writing was on the wall. It had to be aged care. With the population age demographics that we have, it had to be aged care. So I started looking for work in this industry, and I found this tiny little advert the size of a postage stamp in the paper. It was 18 years ago, and it didn't have the name of the organisation, didn't say anything, but it had the name of the agency. And I applied, didn't hear back, so I did a bit of research, Googled the agency and their clients, and I went, it's got to be RFBI. So I just rang up and says, when am I getting interviewed for the job?
Do you remember what job that was specifically?
It was their chief financial officer, which is not what I wanted, not what I was looking for, but I thought if that's the foot in the door. And I was their first chief financial officer. We were a lot smaller 18 years ago. We've grown quite considerably. And I was the CFO for 6-7 years. Then I became the chief of operations or chief operating officer for a number of years, and then the CEO retired, and I was asked if I would step into the role. And I've got to say, it's been the best 8 years I can ever recount, except for a year or two or a couple of years after I became CEO and COVID hit. And what I was thinking about my predecessor, I cannot say out loud. So I thought, you've gone through the golden years, and here I am, it's COVID. But the old saying, a good sailor's not made in a, whatever the saying is, a good sailor's not made, with the ship moored on the whatever. What COVID did, as a leadership team, not just myself, as my leadership team, as the board, it just propelled us. It was just fantastic the way it brought us together. It had the potential to tear a weak team apart. It just moulded us together, and I'm so fortunate. I've got my leadership team's been with me as long as I've been in the position, and we just work so well as a team. And I'd love to take credit, but I've got an amazing leadership team, and as a unit, our achievements are there.
I don't know too many people at RFBI, but I do know Vit and Do.
Oh, yes.
I spoke to her a few times, and she always has the best things to say about you guys, and she's always pretty chirpy on her end. So you're doing something right. What else besides building more of these apartments for your employees? What else are you excited for at RFBI? What's on for the next 12 months?
We've got quite a number of new builds coming along. So at different stages of DA, it's an interesting, you buy a parcel of land, or you find an existing site that you decide you want to rebuild or refurbish, and then you've got to go through that terrible time frame in which you put the DA through. You get the design, you put the DA through, you wait, and then it starts to happen. Well, it's starting to happen. So we've got a new village going on at Dubbo, which is starting imminently. The redevelopment at Newcastle is starting imminently. All the DAs have gone through. We're waiting. Our Canberra build is going to be super exciting. It's a very old site. Most of our sites are very old. And the Canberra site, we're looking at 8-storey buildings. So we're going to have the vertical villages, which we're quite excited about. It's directly across the road from the local shopping centre, and it's wonderful. That's going to be one of our premier locations going forward. We bought a parcel of land up at Leppington, and we're looking at redeveloping that. So we put in a submission, not the DA, just to ensure that the council's comfortable with what we're putting forward. So from a redevelopment perspective, we've got so much.
That's a lot.
We've got a lot on.
Here's a silly question, sorry. What's a DA?
Development application.
Okay.
So that's when you go to council and you say, we want to build, and they then come back with a million questions and wanting a whole heap of more consultants' reports and whatever else so that they can sign off on it. So you've got to have a DA before you can, and then a construction certificate before you can actually start doing anything.
Yeah. I've got some questions that the sponsors would like to ask. So the first question is from Lachlan Henderson, CEO of HopStep. HopStep is an app that matches quality talent with aged care opportunities across Australia. Simply download the app and find the match that's right for you. So his question is...
Hi Anthony, hi Frank, Lachlan from HopStep here. Frank, my question for you is the need and competition for aged care talent is constantly growing. I'd love to know what are some of the things that your organisation is doing to set yourselves apart as an employer of choice.
You answered this before I even asked the question.
I'll just add one more thing to that. We also give scholarships to our staff. So if you want to become, if you're a carer and you want to become a registered nurse, we'll pay for it. I mean, obviously you need to pass through a couple of gates to be eligible. You need to be a full-time employee. You need to have worked for us for 2 years. You need to have a good employment record. But assuming you're one of the 80%, then absolutely. And we've got a lot of staff in various phases. If you're a cook, you want to become a chef. If you're a catering officer, want to become a cook or a chef, those sort of things. So we have scholarships running left, right and centre to assist people develop their skills.
I love that. There's just so many reasons to work for RFBI.
Come and work for us.
All right,
Come and work
where do I sign up? Next question is from Amit Thapa, the CEO of Global Talent Agency, a boutique international talent solution specialist connecting great Australian businesses to highly skilled talent from across the globe. His question is...
Hi Michael, Amit Thapa from Global Talent Agency here. I've got a question I'd love to ask you. In light of the ongoing workforce challenges across the aged care sector, what are your own experiences and considerations when exploring international recruitment as a means of addressing those shortages? I'd love to hear some of your wins and some of the learnings that's come out of it. Thank you, Michael.
We commenced our international recruitment program almost 4 years ago. And it started off with this lovely little company. Am I allowed to give a plug?
A plug, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Key to Care or Key to Learning. I always get, they're both companies, but Key to Learning, I believe it is. They came to us, well, I caught up, and I've known the owner for a number of years. So we were having a coffee and we were saying, well, what are the challenges that aged care are facing? This was during during COVID. And it was obvious it was workforce. More so, not so much then, but you could see it. You could see it happening. People were going to retire and whatnot. So we said workforce. And together we came up with the Global Citizen Exchange Program. And he took it, he did all the work that he had to do, and we brought people from all over the world. It was for junior nurses to come over, learn what it's like to provide, and that their nursing qualifications weren't recognised. So come over as carers, learn what it's like, and then go back home. The intention being, whilst they were with us, if they wanted to stay, we could then assist them in that process. Raging success. Fantastic. We had people like Glen Innes, for instance. The first 2 ladies we received went to Glen Innes. Glen Innes is a long way from anywhere. And we were talking earlier about communities. One of them is still there. She just fell in love with Glen. Her husband and child came over a little later, part of the community now. The other one decided she wanted to come to the Big Smoke because she was still single and it suited her purposes. But from that, what we learned was what worked and what didn't work and what we need to consider, because our next foray international workforce was into Fiji. And it was important to look at the motivation as to why people want to come to Australia. And I'm heavily involved in those interviews because I ask all the inappropriate questions. HR says you're not allowed to ask. But
Are you comfortable? Maybe off camera later, I'm going to ask what one of those questions would be.
no, you can ask now.
Yeah.
No, and I would say, tell me why you want to come to Australia. And they'd say, oh, it's the blue skies and it's the wonderful people. And I'm going, don't give me the interview answers. Tell me the truth. Why do you want to come to Australia? And it always came down to, primarily, obviously more money, but more importantly, it was about providing a future to their family.
Yeah.
As a son of immigrant parents, I know the challenges that my parents had when they came over, and I wanted to make sure that their eyes were open to the challenges, because they were who my parents were back in the 50s and 60s. So it was about saying to them, but have you considered, have you looked at, because what we do, when our international staff come to Australia, we provide them with 3 months free rent, fully furnished accommodation. The only thing they have to pay for is their electricity, etc., and food, but accommodation's free for 3 months. In that 3-month period, we usually pair them off with another person, another international staff member, so they're not alone after hours. But I say, when are you the most loneliest? When you go to bed. Between going to bed and falling asleep. Now, what we learned from the previous program was that one staff member that we brought in was really struggling because she was alone, she was married with a child, and they were all back in India, and here she is alone, and she struggled, you know. And you need to be aware of the impact of coming across to a totally different country, totally different culture, totally different language. Even though you speak English where you are, you don't speak Australian English, and you don't get the nuances of being an Australian. So it was what makes you. So what I try to get into their mind was, when you're in bed and you're thinking about your spouse, you're thinking about your child, your parents, the shopkeeper where you go and do your groceries, your school friends that you used to catch up with, and you're missing them all, just remember why you're here. Because after 3 months, your family will come over. Because what we say is, come over, you have to come over on your own for the first 3 months, because we can't give 180 Fijians, we can't give them 180 dwellings with 2 or 3 bedrooms. We don't have them. So we give them 90 dwellings for 2 people. But when you bring your family over, you're then able to move into your own dwelling. You've got 3 months to find something. You understand whether you want to live 5 minutes down from where you work, or if you drive, you can live 30 minutes away from where you work. So it's about getting them ready for Australia. And I think that's the real challenge, that if you don't do that, then it's going to fail. And getting them ready, if I went to Vietnam, and I love Vietnam, been there 3-4 times, but I've stayed in a hotel. So it's furnished for me, isn't it? If I was to go and live there, and I'm expected to have my own find my own place before I get there, and furniture and cutlery and food in the fridge, I'd fail. I'd fail. So why would I expect someone who's in a less financial position than I'm in to come over here and succeed unless we provide them that foothold? So I think from the things you need to consider, the first one is, you've got to get them ready. You've got to have them prepared. You've got to provide the accommodation. You've got to provide, the other thing we do is we also give them training whilst they're still at home on our quality standards. So we have a bespoke training program that they do remotely. So when they come here, it's not new. They're all qualified nurses. We don't take anyone that's not a qualified nurse from their own country. And they come here as carers. So we've got the best qualified carers you can imagine. But they don't know aged care. When you ask them about another question I would ask is, now, if one of your residents was to get all violent with you because they don't want you to do whatever it is that you're there to do, and you want to placate them, what will you do? So 9 times out of 10, they'd say, we'd strap them to the chair, we'd tie them down, because that's what they do in the hospitals there. And I go, okay, so if I came into your home and I did that to you, what do you think would happen to me? Oh no, the police. And that's what would happen here, because they may be nurses, but there's the Fijian way or the Indian way or the Sri Lankan way of providing care, and then there's the Australian way. So we prepare them. So it's all about having them as prepared as possible before they arrive, and then when they arrive, we have the onboarding process. and we assist them. We take them down to Telstra and they get their mobile phones. They need a SIM card before they can have a bank account. So it's all those processes, and we hold their hand and we take them. But we bring them in small groups, 6 to 10 people. So we're doing 6 to 10 people at a time, and it's worth a treat.
When you describe that moment of loneliness between, going to bed and falling asleep, that I felt that I remember those, years ago. I remember those moments, but it was just because you're lonely, and I didn't have a wife and kids at the time. But I can't. That feeling would be amplified tenfold if you were by yourself and your family, and you were just missing your partner and your children. I don't know, it might be a silly question, but I was curious, how did you come up with that question, or how did you come up with that example or moment? Did someone describe that to you, or did a survey, research?
We all have moments in our life, I guess, where we experience different things. I'm a Wollongong boy. I still live in Wollongong, but I've always worked in Sydney. And when I first started working in Sydney and going to university in Sydney, I was living in, it was actually a garage, someone's garage in their backyard that they'd converted into a little apartment. You could hear the cockroaches running between the walls. It's just that, it was a horrible place. And I'd go to bed at night and I was lonely. I missed my friends. I missed my mum. I was just a boy. And I'm thinking, I'm an hour and a half from home. And imagine being over the ocean. And the Fijians, both the native Fijians and the Indian Fijians, they are so family oriented. They really are. That it would compound the pressure on them. So to me, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. That would be the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle. And we had only one staff member, one prospective employee that pulled the pin on us. She came to Australia, and within the 3 months, she says, "I can't do this. I need to go home." And which is really sad, because it costs a lot of money to get your visa and to get everything, all the costs associated with moving over here. It costs us a lot of money, but it also costs them, relative to what their income is, a lot of money. So it's a big decision to come, and it's a bigger decision to go back. We had one that just couldn't do it. And we try to assist. We try to see how we could provide more comfort, more security, more whatever it is, but she'd made her mind up. But then again, we've got 170, 180 that have said that helped.
I'm trying to figure out what it is about you, Frank, that it's how do you manage being the CEO of such a large organizations with so many moving parts? You've got the whole performance of the business. You've got the business to manage, but you're also in touch. You're very in touch with the human side of everyone in the business. So you feel all the emotions, and I don't know, there's maybe it's just me being generalizing it, and I shouldn't, because I've spoken to enough leaders in the aged care sector who are very in tune with their employees. But in this conversation with you, it's very emotional. Like you go down to the core of what it feels like to be in everyone's situation, and you're looking after them in preparing for worst case scenarios. Doesn't that, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, doesn't that bog you down? I mean, you've got so much to manage. And when did you decide that I'm going to do all of it? Have you always been that way?
Probably not. I say probably not because I don't really know.
But you're an accountant. It was all numbers,
that's
right?
That's right. It was all numbers. And when I first became CEO, I actually brought someone from my old job up here. And she goes, "Who are you? You're not the guy that I had down there." But the thing is, and because it was all about outcomes, but life's not all about outcomes. Life's all about people. And you treat people with respect, and you treat people well, and set those expectations. It's a two-way street. set the expectations, and you'll get the results. But to micromanage, absolutely not. To treat people as if you don't trust them, absolutely not. But trust is easily lost if the other person doesn't do the right thing. Don't get me wrong. I've had difficult conversations with people, if I can put it that way, but never because I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed. It's always about the issues that are at hand. When I became CEO, I had to have my why. What was my why? Was it the financial success of the business? Well, obviously. But the reason I was made CEO was because I kind of was involved in the financial success of the business. I know what it takes. So we've achieved and continue to achieve good results operationally. We achieve great results at the facilities. We've had, in the last 2 years, we've had 16, 17 reaccreditations, not one unmet. Not one. You can't do better than that. And that's not me. That's the people doing the work. So my job is to make sure that the people doing the work are free to do the work. When COVID hit, my board and my leadership, when I say I am referring to the
collective.
The collective here. Our primary responsibility was not our residents. Never came into our conversations. Our primary responsibility was our staff. Because if we look after our staff, they will look after our residents. So that was what we did. We had more PPE at the beginning of COVID than the state government. And I know that to be a fact. We had more PPE than the state government. We lost so much money during that period. We made huge losses. The only time in the history of my being involved 18 years is we made losses, but we made them intentionally, knowingly, because we had to look after our staff. If any of our staff got unwell, got COVID and forbid that, it had, took their life or whatever, I don't know how we would have coped if knowing that we hadn't done everything in our power. So we had a lot of, and we also shared it. We would, aged care providers were all calling each other, saying, can you? And we had them. We got 22 locations, so we had a lot in each location. So we said, sure, we'll send you a batch from here, and if they have an outbreak, we can get it from there. So we were able to move. It's like a game of chess. We're able, or more like giraffes, we're able to move things around.
Yeah.
And when they finally got their supply, because they'd put orders in, obviously, they would then give it back to us. And it worked a treat. And that's what we need to do. We need to all work together.
You don't hear those stories. You don't hear those beautiful times.
Yeah. Never thought of COVID as a beautiful time.
No, but that's when everyone came together.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I got a call, I remember, before we could get our PPE, I got a call from a retirement village operator that is now, he's also a developer, and he's the one building our sites up at Dubbo and at Newcastle. And he's got beautiful retirement village in Mount Gilead. And he rang me up and said, Frank, I've got my hands on a whole bunch of PPE, masks. Would you like some? You didn't have to do that. But that's the industry we're in.
Yeah.
And as we have that evolution of senior management, a lot of people are retiring, more people are coming through. I hope we don't lose that.
I'm just very, I'm cutting this bit out. I'm getting actually emotional talking to you. I think it's just the way you describe it, and I'm just feeling everything your employees would be going through. All right.
Okay.
This next bit.
Let's go fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Is there any?
Well, this next bit is about your life.
Oh, okay.
About you.
I told you about me.
About your outside of work and outside.
Oh, okay.
So, Frank, outside of work and outside of aged care,
Yep.
what can we find you doing? What do you enjoy?
Now, that's evolved. Over time, that's evolved. I loved soccer. Loved playing soccer. Wasn't very good at it, but I just got so much satisfaction out of getting out there, kicking that ball. questioning the referee. The refs hated me. Every decision I'd be questioning. I was watching State of Origin. I was questioning the decisions. This is not right. And at 50 years of age, my knees just gave up on me. Because I was doing soccer and kickboxing at the same time. I did that for about 17 years. Never in the ring though. Because I had two reasons. I don't like hurting people and I don't like getting hurt. So not the ring, but you spar with people and you kick the bag, and kicking the bag, after a while, so doing that plus soccer, my knees are totally shot. So I had to give that away. So now you find me doing something a little more sedate. I do Pilates. So that's my Zen zone. But actually in between, just before COVID, I was learning to salsa. It's fantastic. For me, salsa was meditative because you're concentrating on just one thing, the footsteps. Step in, step back, step out.
Are you still?
No, because once COVID hit, I thought, well, I can't afford to get sick. Because I travel to our villages quite often. And the way that the dance lessons work is the guys are in the outside circle, the girls are in the inside circle, and after a few, 30 seconds, they rotate. So basically, if one of them's got it, everyone's got it.
Yes.
So no, I stopped that, but I've taken up Pilates. So that's what you'll find me doing to raise the sweat.
Do you miss soccer and kickboxing? Because I dabbled in some Muay Thai kickboxing, and I never wanted to get in the ring either. It took me probably 18 months before I stopped closing my eyes every time someone punched me. So I took a lot of hits because of that reason. But I loved, once I got over that, it was the chess aspect of every movement sets up another movement, and it was so fun from there. It's just a game of tag.
It
really
is. And the thing I really enjoy is the observation. So if I'm sparring with you, and I see that when you go to kick, you drop your front arm, I know you're about to kick me. I also know that's when I step in and give you a little smack across the face, which is, you get to see people's styles, I guess.
Yeah.
And once again, I wasn't any good at it. For me, it was all about sweating. It's all about the sweat. It's about getting the heart pumping. It's just, for me, it was exercise. It's never been about, even the soccer, I was never going to compete at any standard. It's about the camaraderie with your mates, the friendship with the opposition. I was a striker, so I didn't do much running. So I did a lot of talking to the opposition defenders. But the one sport that I've actually been, not competitively, but socially competitive at, is table tennis.
Oh, do you have a table here?
I've got a table here.
Oh, I'll give you a game.
Oh, no,
next time
you sound as if you might be very
I
good.
used to play a lot, but not anymore. But yeah, now that I know you've got one here, next time I come to Sydney, I'm going to prepare.
Absolutely.
And I'll bring my own bat. If you need the 3-star balls.
Your own bat.
And then
I'll have to bring my own bat.
All right. Challenge is on.
Okay.
I love that.
I've got our lawyer who thinks she's a good table tennis player, but she charges too much, so I had to beat her. And if Tracy sees this, I'm sorry for mentioning you.
Oh my God. Frank, thank you so much for an incredible conversation. I really appreciate having you on, and thank you for sharing your story.
It's been a real pleasure meeting you, and it was a pleasure to have our chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.